Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Hello and welcome to Date Forever. In this week's episode, we're chatting about why competing and keeping score in a relationship doesn't work, relationship maths and why we need to come as a whole person, and why outsourcing could be the best thing for your relationship. But before we get into that, what's been fueling you up this week, Sammy?
We had a double date on the weekend.
Yeah, we did.
Well, actually, we had two double dates on the weekend with some friends of friends who have become our friends, and they've actually been on the show. Beautiful Maria and Andy.
Yeah,
who shared
it was great to have them on the show.
Yeah, and great to see them in person.
Yeah, both of those.
So yeah, they are very good friends of our very good friends. And, they were up visiting from Melbourne. So Melbourne flown over to Sydney for the couple of days.
Yep.
Yeah, and we got the chance to catch up and have dinner and then have another dinner and just to hang out, really. It was really lovely.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it feels like interstate travel is like slowly creeping back amongst the chaos that is global pandemic coming up, 2.5.
Just over 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're having interstate visitors is very much a novelty. So yeah, that was my biggest fuel up for the week. What about you?
Yeah, well, that probably was mine as well. I think we just had a really nice weekend. Yeah, catching up with a few friends. But then, I also got out on the bike over the weekend as well. And the weather forecast was pretty shit, to be perfectly honest.
It's been a bit everywhere, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. But I think what it's just kind of taught me is to prioritize the things that you actually want to do. And if it's something that's going to add fuel to one of your tanks, just make sure you do actually prioritize it and make the effort. And so what if there's a little bit of rain and you get a little bit wet while you're doing something? So yeah, it just adds a little bit of an extra element to to your activities. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me, was just backing myself, doing the thing that I wanted to do, even though it wasn't quite perfect conditions.
Yeah, I got rained on during my surf lesson on Friday.
You're getting wet anyway. What does it matter?
Yeah, push on.
That's it. But now, here's this week's guest.
Today we've got Abby Medcalf joining us. Abby is a relationship maven, psychologist, author, podcast host, and TEDx speaker who has helped thousands of people think differently so that they can create connection, ease, and joy in their relationships, especially the one with yourself. With her unique background in both business and counselling, she brings a fresh, effective perspective to life struggling using humour and her direct, no-nonsense style. With over 30 years of experience, Abby is recognised authority and sought-after speaker at organisations such as Google, Apple, AT&T, Kaiser, PG&E, American Airlines and Chevron. She's been a featured expert on CBS and ABC News and has been a contributor to the HuffPost, Women's Health and Bustle. She's the author of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, Be Happily Married, Even If Your Partner Won't Do a Thing, and a host of the top-rated Relationships Made Easy podcast. Hey, welcome to the show, Abby.
Thank you for having me. It always feels ridiculous when I hear people talking about all the things.
Those are some amazing all the things.
It's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, how cool am I? You are cool. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, let's go way back to the beginning. Where and how did you get interested in relationships?
I think always, but your whole life, right? We all love relationships, but I've been in a lot of bad ones way back. And I've shared with you before, I'm a recovering drug addict. And during that, you might imagine I was not having healthy relationships anywhere. But I've always been that sort of person that people came to or wanted to know or talk to about something. And it really kept evolving. And as I got clean and went to many counselors and many rehabs and got much help, which I still get help because I think it's important to do your whole life. And it's morphed through working in businesses doing that, working just with individuals and couples doing that. So it's morphed over the years, but I love relationships. I just think I really believe that if we all were happier and felt more fulfilled in our relationships, we would literally have world peace. So that is my goal. That's why I'm on podcasts like this. That's why I have my own. I'm out there just you can do it. You can really be
That's
happy.
our big goal as well.
I'm not sure. Obviously, podcasting is an audio medium, not a visual medium. But behind us, we've got our better relationships equal a better world.
I remember yes.
Yeah. So we really resonate with that. We know that the quality of our relationships drastically increases the quality of our lives. And we can deploy resources on bigger problems if we aren't bickering with our partners about taking out the trash. So there's so many things that I want to dig into here, but maybe give us a little bit of a snippet of your book, Be Happily Married, Even If Your Partner Won't Do a Thing.
Well, the book came about because I was working with executives. I used to work with executives who have drug and alcohol problems. And as you might imagine, if you have a drug and alcohol problem, it's often that your marriage is crumbling or your relationship is crumbling. And so what was happening, I was working with them and they were reporting that their relationships were improving. And I was never meeting it was all men, really. So I was never meeting these wives, it was straight men, these wives. And I thought, that's weird. How am I doing that? Like, how is that happening? And it's really became I thought, let me try that outside of there with regular people and see what happens. And sure enough, a lot of times I would have couples in my office versus one person coming and asking about the relationship. And I noticed that I was actually having definitely the same or often better outcomes when one person was coming. And I thought, that's really interesting. But when you think about it, because when you come with your partner, a lot of classic sort of therapy is hearing the people argue, mediating something. And I have a whole different way that I see relationships. I don't see them as a straight line, right? I'm over here, you're over here, and we're going to try to come to some middle ground. Middle ground doesn't work. The research shows that when people negotiate, both sides feel like they gave up more. So both sides feel like they lost, which is really interesting. And of course, that was working in couples. So I always talk about couples like a triangle. And you're both here and you're looking ahead to something you're going to do together. So even if that felt like a yes or no question, like, should we move in together? And one person saying yes and one person saying no, there's another thing in front of you. And when you're looking there, when you're not just trying to make the person see your point of view, when you're truly curious and asking questions and really thinking, well, what is that about? What are our options? Maybe we could live on a houseboat instead. I don't know. There's a million things that could happen. So even if you end up at one of your ideas, even if you end up, let's say, moving in together, even though one person didn't love that idea initially, when you have that triangle and you come to it like that person who's now going to move in is there wholeheartedly, is there like, yes, this is the best idea. I'm so excited we're choosing this, not getting dragged along. And that makes all the difference.
Yeah, I love this idea of, I think we've heard it described as collaboration, not compromise. And what can you do to create a win-win rather than neither of you, if you both have to compromise and neither of you really got what you were seeking or desiring, there has to be a third option where you can take some of your stuff and some of your stuff and come up with a whole different idea to resolve a third or fourth or fifth solution, because there's always more than one or two ways to solve a problem, right?
Well, and it gets us out of that competition mode which is really kind of the basis of, you saw my TED Talk and my book. This idea that everybody comes in with that communication is our big problem and that's the only thing we have to work on. And I always say the reason communication isn't working and all the tools, because you've learned good tools and they work for a little while and then you fall back into old patterns, is because you're competing. And couples compete for time, money. They compete for the resources in the coupledom. And when you're doing that, saying it's your turn to put away the dishes, or you bought this thing, so now I get to buy this thing of the same value, or I spent 4 hours cleaning the house, now you have to spend 4 hours cleaning the house. When we start doing that, we're competing, right? And if I'm on opposite team than you, I don't want you to win. I want my team to win, which is immediately what breaks apart everything. And so seeing the couple as a shared resource. So if you're drained, if my husband's drained, if my partner's drained, I'm drained. And really understanding that that's a drain on me. I need to find ways that, I had a couple the other day and he was getting to relax while she was doing something. And she said, well, he should have to work too while I'm doing this. Like he should be as miserable as me while I'm miserable. And it's a crazy idea. So now we're both miserable. Like that's going to help us. That's not what we should want for our partners, right? We should want wonderful things. We don't want to be their slaves. Don't get me wrong. It's not what I'm saying, but you really want to be happy when there's a win because you're understanding that now the resource of the couple is bigger. Like we have more to draw from now. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Nathan and I have said this a few times about not wanting a transactional relationship and not wanting like, I'll swap you this for that and I'll do this if you do that, and how tiresome that is.
It's exhausting. It really is. We're just, especially here in America, I mean, we are brought up this way. Everything is 50-50 and my better half, my other half. You know, we use this guy, every Disney movie you've ever seen, right? There's this idea, and certainly like a 1950s American kind of housewife kind of idea. And the husband went to work and there was this idea of all this divide and conquer. And so that's what you do. You learn that seems normal and right. And you go and divide and conquer, but that doesn't work. I had a couple recently and he was sharing in the couple session that he said, oh, I have great news. I'm really excited. He'd been looking to get this promotion for a long time and it was going to be in Europe and he's going to be the head of whatever in Europe now. And so he's going to be in Europe a lot more, but I mean, it's huge. He's been wanting this for a long time. It's a lot more money, And her reaction was, she said, great, now I'll be home more taking care of the kids while you're having fun in Europe. And and I felt, and we worked through that and she did a great job with it. But you can see why immediately you can go, oh, I get it. She's seeing it as a loss for her. His gain was her loss, right? And that's what you have to change. That's what you have to change. And you really have to, I mean, we can talk about the ways you do that, but you have to get out of that mindset that there's any kind of competition or that if your partner's getting attention or anything, the fear that I'm going to lose the person or something, that now I'm jealous because now other people will see them and want them and they'll leave me. I mean, all the fear-based things, fear just has never improved any love relationship. It's never gonna, and it never has. So you have to get rid of it.
So I've heard you talk a little bit about like the relationship maths that like like a half plus a half equals 1, but that's only one person then. So can you just explain that to us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It sounds so trite, but it's really true. Everyone thinks that relationships are this better half, this other half. And they think, oh, my half plus your half. And we have this whole relationship and it's so beautiful, which makes me want to throw up my mouth a little bit. But right, this is this idea. And you're in a long-term relationship, I'm in a long-term relationship. You know that if relationships were that easy, if they were simple addition problems, we would not have podcasts, right? Like I wouldn't have a job. So relationships are synergistic. They're incredible. And they are multiplication problems. So what you have is a half times a half, which if you remember your third grade math is a quarter. So you have less than what you started with. And anybody listening right now knows it's true. They have been in a half person with another half person and been not their best selves, not uplifting each other and really felt worse than when they started. I've heard people say it. It's worse than being alone. This is worse than if I was alone. That's the thing. So if you want a whole relationship and it's a multiplication problem, then obviously you have to have 2 ones, right? You each need to bring 100% in. And that idea, but you can't think of it as 100% means I do all the same things you do. That's where it gets into trouble. I worked 4 hours. That's the competition again then. I worked 4 hours, so now you have to work 4 hours. I'm miserable doing this, so now you have to be miserable doing that, right? That's what has to go. What happens, I can give you a quick example. My tire was low in my car, and Gary was like, the air's low in your car. That's dangerous. In the tire, you should get that fixed. And growing up in New York, car wasn't very important to me. I didn't, you can get around without a car. I didn't have a car for years. And so this idea that, low tire, I didn't really know what I had to do for that. I thought I had to go to the mechanic all day. I didn't know that you just go to a gas station and they put air in it. I had no idea. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take care of that. And I didn't do it. And, a couple of days goes by, it's lower. And he's like, hey, he's getting upset. He's like, you got to fix that. Like, go get the air in your tire. What are you doing? And finally he went and got air in my tire. And when he came home, I acted like he had split the atom, right? I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because I was so appreciative of this act, which took him like 10 minutes. There's a gas station down the street, right? Took him 10 minutes. But for me, I felt, and I asked him, I said, thank you for doing that. He said, you're like the most competent person I know. And for you not to do it, I figured there had to be a problem. And I realized I was getting mad about it. And I realized I could just go do it. Like, there must be a reason you're not doing it. That, for me, is worth everything. I will cook 20 dinners for that. You know what I mean? And like, and that's the problem. Our partners do a lot of things for us that you can't quantify. You can't transactional. You can't put a number to. You can put a feeling to. And that's it. You don't marry someone because they mow the lawn well. Yet that's what you're arguing about. Or because they can take out the trash so great or clean the dishes so well. But that's what we argue about. So the real issue is, do I feel loved? Do I feel supported? Do I feel cherished? Do I feel heard? And if those things are there, hire somebody or barter with someone or just have dirty dishes. I don't know, use paper plates. Do something else so that you don't have to argue about this thing. But it's really, you guys know, it's never about the thing. That's not why you're arguing, right? It's because you don't feel the feels. You don't feel supported. You don't feel loved. You don't feel heard. But you're wasting your time then talking about a dirty sock on the floor. So what can we talk about instead? That would really be the conversation.
So Abby, like going back to some of those catchphrases of like, you're not pulling your weight and it's your turn to do X, Y, Z, and that kind of transactional competition, negotiating kind of language. How do we get out of that and into a more collaborative whole, sharing the same plate? Me moving it across to your side is still in our team. How do we move from that out of it? Like, what does it look like?
So there's a few things I generally say. Number one, people are doing the best with the tools they have. End of story. So if your partner is not, this is a little bit ago now, but I was on a podcast and a couple like you guys, and they were sharing about how they have 2 little kids, and she was at night. His job was like to clean up the kitchen at the end of the day before she got up in the morning, so she could kind of take the morning shift with the little kids, and everything was clean to start. And he wouldn't do it sometimes. And then she would go crazy, yelling and screaming about it, right? Understandably, you said
because a whole day, the next day is on the back foot.
You're already on your heels. It's already not working. And she was and so I said to her, though, what would be better, and we talked about, is like, he doesn't want to piss you off. That's the last thing on his mind. The last thing he wants to do is upset you. So if he didn't do it, there's a reason. He's exhausted. And she, of course, said, well, I'm exhausted too, but I do it. I get it done. And I said, well, what if you were to go upstairs when next time that happens and you were to lay in bed with him and go, I'm so frustrated. I'm just so sad right now. I'm downstairs. It's not done. I know that you're 100. I know you're trying. What can we do different so this doesn't keep happening? Like, how could you connect? And the husband in that situation, he said to me, he goes, oh my God, I would have jumped up and run downstairs. Like, I don't think I'd ever forget again, kind of thing. Like, there's a love way to talk to people about what we need, as opposed to the competition part about what we need. And to really understand. And what I also said was, the big things are, what can you take off your plate? It's always about adding and subtracting. So what can you take off the plate that doesn't have to be there, that you think has to be there? Or what resources could you add so that you guys didn't have to do it? We always look to our partners. The dog door is broken at my house, and I'm looking at him going, hey, can you fix that? I don't do the fixing, you do. Can you fix the dog door? And then 3 weeks go by and the dog door is not fixed, right? And now I'm asking again and again, can you fix the door? Hey, now I'm getting mad. Hey, there's air coming in the house. There's animals coming in, whatever, right? We start talking like this. And instead of hire someone to do the door, like, just be done. Or, I don't know, maybe board it up in the meantime. Or, I don't know, like, get rid of your dog. I don't know. Like, there has to be something. Don't do that. My poor doggies. We love our dogs. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be, train him to go out the window, train him to open the door. I don't know. Like, find something else. Find another way. Because if I say a lot, do you want to be correct or effective? So you're correct. Yeah. The person said they'd fix the door and they haven't. That's correct. You're right. But is it effective to ask 40 times for them to do it? Clearly not, or you wouldn't have to ask more than once. So how do you change your tact? How do you bring that 100%? How do you bring the love? How do you, again, assume the best of your partner? That's really what it is. You have to assume that they're trying their best. This is their best. And the other piece is to not assign. We define things a lot. He didn't pick up his socks, even though I asked him to. And that means he doesn't love me. He doesn't respect me. He thinks I'm the maid. It doesn't mean that at all. It means he doesn't care about socks. He doesn't see them the way you do. That's all it means. It means they're not important in his head. So his brain didn't register the sock. He isn't taking off his sock, throwing it on the ground and going, F her. Like that is not happening. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 35 years. I've never had one person say that happened. It's just not what's going on. But we assign meaning, right? We decide, you knew what you were meaning when you said that to me. You knew that would upset me. You knew I'd be, and it's like, if they knew that, they wouldn't have done that. Like, there just has to be some room to have some grace, right? To have some room for both of you, the same grace you want. Because I screw up all the time. Please, I'd like that same grace. Giving our partners that benefit of the doubt. And I know usually people, they say, well, then I'm going to get taken advantage of. That's what I usually hear. And if you are with someone and you think you're going to get taken advantage of, I don't know what you're doing. Seriously, I don't know what you're doing in this relationship. That's fear-based. And again, that's not what I've ever seen with all the couples I've worked with. Unless you are married or with a true narcissist, a true person who has a major personality disorder, which is about 2% of the population. So I know we throw around the term a lot, but it's not, right? It's really not everybody. So unless you're with that person, it's not going to happen. The other person's going to see what's happening. They're going to want to give more because they feel the love and you give the love. It's a beautiful thing that happens. It happens in my life. It's happening in your life, I'm sure. That's how to do it.
Yeah. So, Abby, like the household is probably a good, easy, kind of clear-cut example because you both live there and you both spend time there. So how do we go about, I know that in the past, the relationship model or the relationship default is that women tend to take on a larger portion of the care tasking and the mental load and like thinking about the fact that we need to go shopping and preparing to go shopping, not just the shopping. So how do we conquer that side of it?
Yeah. That's the emotional labor side, right? We call it. There is a whole piece there. So, and there's multiple ways to come at it. But one thing is that you might just get more help. Seriously. Mm-hmm. I'll have people who will pay. I had a couple, this isn't that long ago either, who were paying for therapy, right? Come to couples. And I was saying to them, I think you just need a cleaning person. Like, stop. It's less money than me. But his reaction was, she doesn't work. What is she doing all day? Like, why should I pay for a cleaning person? She should be able to do it, right? He didn't like how things were that way. And I said to him, would you rather have blowjobs or pay for a cleaning person? Because that's your choice. Like, what her bandwidth for her is taken up with everything else. If she could do it all, she would. She can't. It's just too much. And she needs the bandwidth to be kind to you, to be nice to you, to want to have sex with you. Like, why? Like, what is, again, that competition? Like, I'm out working all, like, she's not working? Please. So, and I did say to him, I said they have a son who had just been sick, which I knew about. And I said, when your son got sick in the night, did you get up or did she get up? And he got all excited. He goes, I got up. As a matter of fact, it was me. I was up in the night. I said, great. I said, was there Tylenol there? Something to give your kid? He goes, yeah. I said, did you know where it was? He said, well, no. I said, did you buy it? He said, no. I said, how about the thermometer you used? Did you know where that was? Like, he had it, right? He was asking her all night, well, where's the thermometer? Where's the Tylenol? Where's the, right? I said, have you ever run out of toilet paper? So no, because all of that is handled. All of that world that you don't even realize. And a lot of that was just bringing him, like I could see him have that little aha moment. I was like, she's holding all those pieces. So some of it is just really understanding what that emotional labor is, how that is. And on the other side, it's also, I like things cleaner than my Gary does. I do. I like things cleaner. I do. And so if I want it that clean, then I make it that clean. Or I hire someone to make it that clean. Do you know what I mean? So when the whiskers are left in the sink, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you guys have this?
We don't have this fight. We have me molting my sheds of hair more than Nate's beard. Yeah.
Is it in the fridge? My hair gets in my daughter's hair in the fridge. It's unbelievable where it shows up. Yes. So guess what? Same thing. So I'll use that. That's good. because my hair does show everywhere. And he's like, are you kidding me? And I do clean up after myself when I blow dry my hair or something, but I can't get it all. And so the joke is he loves my hair. He loves running his hands through me. He thinks I have beautiful hair. I'm like, great. It gets to be beautiful everywhere. Like you can look at that and go, yeah, I guess I'll throw some hair away. I'll pick it out of the grapes in the fridge again, because it wandered in there somehow with love. When I'm cleaning up the rest of those whiskers in the sink, even though he's rinsed it down, but there's a few left.
Yeah, you go, I love your clean shaved face.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for this. Yeah.
I have timed it because I can be that petty. And it takes about 3 seconds for me to rinse the sink. 3 seconds. So I'm going to go complain about 3 seconds of my time. I try to see it as an act of service. Like I love him. He's trying. It's a service to me because I like the house this way. He could care less. And again, it's not a signal that he doesn't love me that there's whiskers in the sink. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not, this man cherishes me. He adores me. I know that. And most people listening know their partner adores and cherishes them, but are choosing to focus on the hair in the sink. So again, I guess it's right that they should rinse it better, but are you being effective? Are you having a close, intimate relationship when you complain about the hair in the sink or when he complains about your hair, right? There's some place to just go, this is my person. I love my person. This isn't my favorite part of my person, but I'm going to take it all. This is it. And so sometimes I'm going to have hairy grapes and I'm just going to pull them out or we're going to give them an extra rinse and call it done and not decide not to be annoyed by that.
I've actually almost flipped that thinking, and especially when I'm out of the house or something and I find one of Sammy's hairs, I'm like, oh, this is really nice. Like I've actually flipped it to be like, oh, this is really nice. Like I've got a piece of you, or like I've found, and I don't know. It's kind of actually a warming moment for me finding it, especially when it's out of the house anyway. But
that is so sweet. I love that. But see, it's the same hair, right? That you could be complaining about or going, oh my God, I have this gorgeous woman in my life with this beautiful mane of hair. And look, she's with me now. She's marking her territory. It's right here. It's the same, right? It's just a different way. And I'm not saying that you should be a doormat for things, or if, again, things are really important to you, they should totally be talked about, but that's not the important stuff. That's not what you should be spending your time on. And you're using up your emotional capital with your partner because they're not going to hear you anymore. And this goes male, female, it doesn't matter. If you're just on something over and over, it becomes wallpaper. Whereas if you say the one thing, it's kind of, I don't get angry easily, but if I kind of get there with my kids, they are quiet. Like they are like, what is it, mom? like, what's the thing? And they're going to do that thing because I employ it so rarely. Do you know what I mean? Because I really don't feel it that often, granted, but it's such a rare thing. So if you come to your partner with something and you really have to talk about it and you really need something and you come in that way, it's very different than if you've had 50 requests. One of the things, by the way, for the household chores, that's an easy go that really takes care of a lot. I call it a couples business meeting. So keep a Google Doc or however you want to do this. But whenever something comes up, broken light bulb, the cat door has to, dog door has to be fixed, it goes on the list. And you don't ask, so you're not asking your partner all the time to do something. Do you know what I'm saying? So if it's an emergency, obviously it's different. And then when you sit every week, you just for half hour, I tell people don't do this for long. You sit for a half hour and you go over the list. Oh, this has to get, who wants to do what? Are we going to hire someone? What's going to happen? And if you want, if it's really a problem in your relationship, you can write that in the little Google Doc, right? Who said they would do it? And my rule in my house is if it's on there for 3 weeks, then someone's hired to do it. End of story. End of. There's no more about it. It's okay. Without judgment or meanness. It's okay. This is too much. We asked for too much. Let's just hire someone to get this done. Do you know what I mean? Or again, or barter if you don't have money, or ask your grandparents to do, I don't know, ask whoever you can. Ask a friend. Just get help with it. And I have couples, I get a lot of great feedback about the couples business meeting. They just find that it takes the juice out of so much because it's often that you're asking for something at the end of the day, right? They get home from work and you're like, oh, by the way, this has to get fixed and that didn't happen. And could you also take out the trash? Could you also do this? Could you make me dinner? Could you pick up my dry, whatever they're asking for? And you're tired after the end of a long day. So this isn't a great time to have requests made, right? So it's better. So the couples business meeting is a game changer. It's really easy and you can prioritize together. And again, that's that triangle. So you can say together what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It really makes it better, I have to say.
Abby, I've had girlfriends who have sort of tried to employ this strategy of like, well, let's hire someone or let's outsource it or let's get help, let's get support. It's been quite a challenge to sort of get it over the tipping point to get their partner on board with spending money on those kind of things that they can do yourself or do myself. Like, and I know that Nathan and we had friends make some comments and things like, even when we just started a meal kit delivery service, like, oh, but can't you just do that cheaper yourself? And I just think like my Saturday morning is worth more to me. And the time that I'm buying back the quality time, I'm not actually buying the meal kit delivery. I'm buying my mental headspace back. I'm buying quality time with Nath. I'm buying the fact that we don't have to have an argument every day about what are we going to eat for dinner. So how can we empower people to cross that threshold to go, it's okay to outsource things? Well,
there's a few things there. One is that when you put something on, like, let's say if you're doing the list, that you give a date when, like I said, after 3. But after that, it's because then you're saying as a couple, we can't get this done. Like we just can't. And that's okay. But again, without the judgment, right? So I find that the list, because otherwise people don't realize how long they're taking to do things or how it gets lost. It's been months and now I'm really pissed about it or whatever. And then that other piece, it's not how much time you have in your day. It's how much mind you have in your day. And everyone has had this where they thought, oh, I'm going to work out tonight, or we're going to have sex tonight. We scheduled sex later, or we're going to have, family time, whatever. And then that time comes. But even though you have time left in your day, so maybe it's 6:00 at night, you don't go to bed till 11. Maybe you're like, I have 5 hours. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that project out back, right? I'm going to rake the leaves. And then you find yourself binge watching something, right, on Netflix and like laying on the couch eating something you shouldn't be eating. And that is because you didn't have bandwidth left in your day. And every time you add something, as people don't seem to get, you can't just keep adding over and over and over. It doesn't work. There's only, again, because you think there's time in the day. You're like, oh, we can squeeze that in. We have time for that. We have time for that. Nobody listening should ever say we have time for that again. That should be off the table. Do we have the bandwidth to add this? So if you've got someone maybe started a new job or someone lost a job, or now we've got COVID is huge, by the way, taking up huge bandwidth for people, wearing masks again, and right, things are going up and surging. I mean, right? Australia had the fires on top of that. I mean, my gosh, hello. So even things that are global and big that might not even be affecting you the way you think are affecting you. It's a drain. It's another thing. It's another thing. It's another thing. So all those things, you have to, again, go, what can come off the plate? So anytime you've even a happy thing, this is why couples fight around their weddings, because they're adding a full-time job of planning a wedding to their, right? That's why they're fighting, because they're adding without anything leaving and expecting it to be great because it's a happy thing. That's not how it works. So that is the way I kind of usually get through to people, is that you have to take something off the plate. So when people come for couples work with me, I say to them, what are you going to give up to do this? And they're like, oh, we got a babysitter. We're good. Or, we have an hour or whatever. And I'm like, oh, no, babies. This is going to take a lot of emotional bandwidth to do the things I'm going to ask you to do each day, to pay attention differently, to be with your partner differently. What are you going to give up to bring that? What you can add a resource to, you can have a meal delivery, you can have a cleaning person, you could add a resource, or you could take things off your plate. You guys could do intermittent fasting and no longer eat, or you could, I don't know, whatever. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I love my food. I'm not doing that. But you know what I'm saying? You could give up something that seems so important right now, but maybe isn't. Or maybe you can do that in a few months. Do this first, get this down, and then add that later, right? Don't do it all at once. I even say to people who are trying to lose weight, when they go exercise and they change their food, I'm like, oh, no, just change one. That's why people fail at that, I think, all the time. You should change just one. That's it. And if there's anything else new going on, then forget it. Just one thing at a time. So that's usually how I get to people. You have to think of how much bandwidth you have and how much is truly on your plate. And what are you adding? You can't keep adding. The room is full. You have to take something out of the room to put this thing in that you want. And what would be really better is to take a bunch of things out of the room and put nothing back in. So you have room to see the room to walk around, right? And that, for some reason, that kind of visual really helps people get on board with that. And I get that. When you were talking, I was smiling because I'm like, oh, I know what she's going to say, because that's what people say to me. They're arguing about it. And I come back to what I said to that other couple. I'm like, would you rather have a blowjob or pay for a cleaning lady? Like, these are the choices that you're making. And I'm joking. It's like, we get stuff too, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, would I rather have, my husband just think of something romantic for us to do together? Or would I rather he was out mowing the lawn? I can hire someone to mow the lawn. I can't hire someone. You should never be arguing, like I said, about things that you could hire someone to do. So there you go. You're back to it, right? Have someone else mow the lawn.
And I love this so much because Nathan and I talk about like this idea of, a humming household where you either eliminate, automate, or delegate as much as possible so that you are not using your precious mental bandwidth on, oh my gosh, are we going to run out of toothpaste? Oh my gosh, we haven't washed the floor in a week, or whatever the thing is. Like, automate, eliminate, delegate as much as possible so that you can have that quality time. And all of those things are not actually an investment in your humming household. They're an investment in having quality time together so that you're spending one day a week getting ready for the week.
Right. And I hate that whole idea, even of that, right? That people hate Sundays and thank God it's Friday and it's hump day on Wednesday. And like they're living for 2 days. It makes me nuts because I'm like, you need to set up your life so that it always feels, as much as possible, really like it's filling you up. And for sure, when you come home, I've heard people say, oh yeah, when I get home, I get ready to do battle. I'm going to have to do all these chores. I'm going to have to wrangle kids or pets or my partner. And I think, oh my gosh, I walk into my house and I exhale like, I made it. I'm good. It's all good. I'm here. I'm in these walls. It should feel like that wonderful exhale, not like, oh, now I really have to get to work. So what you're saying, I think, is so true. We have to figure out other ways to do this. And sadly, not long ago, we used to have lots of help. It took a village. We had relatives living everywhere and grandparents, whatever, in a village. People were helping each other. So, now that we're alone, we still need a village. So if you don't live next door to your parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins, and you know what I mean? If you don't have that, if you don't live on a commune, if you don't have that, then you have to create that. And I think of these people I hire as my village. They are helping me live this life with, and I have friends I do things for and they do things for us. Again, like bartering, I love. That's wonderful. Like, when we're driving to school, hey, parent of a kid I barely know, do you want to take the kids on Mondays and Wednesdays and I'll drive them on Tuesdays and Thursdays? And I just got all that time. It's easy. It's like there aren't, because I do hear the argument, well, we don't have money for all that. And again, I would argue, we of course you do. You have money for whatever's important. So you just have to figure out what is important to you. And you can you can figure out trades and barters, and that's all right there. I drive a much older car. I don't have a brand new car. I don't drive brand new cars. I don't like brand new cars. I feel like that's a waste of money. I'd rather put my money somewhere else. But that's me. So, right. I'd rather have help for things than spend more time. Other people feel like the car is the most important thing. And that is totally fine. You're allowed to have that. But if you're saying then you don't have money to have a meal delivery service and you're fighting every night about dinner, then I would tell you to check your priorities. What are you doing? Like, really, what are you doing at the end of the day? But then, you feel like, well, the only happiness I get is driving around in this nice sports car. And it's like, that shouldn't be your happiness. Again, you're getting kind of behind the problem, right? So get out in front of it. But we all make, and I don't want to judge anyone for what they're doing. I have a Louis Vuitton bag under my desk right now. Like, I like nice things too. You're allowed to have that, but I make choices in other places. Right? It's just that. And I'm aware that when I'm making those choices, it's either taking away or adding in some other place.
Yeah. So Abby, this has been such an amazing chat. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd love to round out with what's your number one top tip for keeping a relationship fueled up? Maybe something from your own relationship.
I would say my biggie is to always greet at the door. So we have a thing where we always greet I don't care what you're doing. I don't care. You turn off the burners, you stop the email, you as soon as you hear the car, right? So, and we sort of joke that you should look like a golden retriever at the door. Do you know how golden retrievers look at the door? I mean, they are the most excited. So yeah. Gary's 6'4", by the way. He's a very large guy. He's like, he's a very fit kind of big guy. And he's like jumping up and down at the door, all excited to see me. And so how are you not happy walking in your house when that is going on? Like, how are you not feeling it? And just to walk in and really see each other and like, I'm so glad to see you. I'm happy you're home. It's good to see you. And we have little makeout sessions right there. It's like awesome. Like we really get into it. And I would say that coupled with that is to, for 1 week, don't say I love you and instead say what you really mean. I just take that's emotional wallpaper sometimes, the I love you. And really like, I am so appreciative right now of being in this space with you. I am going to miss you so much when you leave the house. Whatever it is for you that you were saying, I love you, what's really happening? What are you feeling in that moment? Share that. It makes you much more conscious in a way and really attentive. And I'm telling you, do it for 1 week. People come back and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe how great that was. So greet at the door. Don't say I love you.
Yeah. But with the I love you, one of the things that we've done is we actually ask the question afterwards, why are you saying that right now?
Oh, there you go.
What's made you say that right now? Like, what are you feeling in that moment that's made you ask that?
Yeah, or what are you thinking about? Because sometimes it's like out of the blue, especially when we've been working together and we're in each other's company and presence, but not actually interacting. And then it'd be like sneaky, oh, I love you. Because I was just thinking about that time that we did this thing and it was really nice memory. Like, yeah, I really like that. And getting a bit more context because then it's repeatable too. Like, thank you so much for everything that you did today, like whatever it might be. But yeah, it's more specific feedback too.
No, it's a wonderful thing. And it really takes, what you're trying to do is take the relationship off of autopilot. Autopilot is the killer. Yeah. And so setting intention, getting up, doing those things, and they're tiny things. They take seconds of your day. So I know people think I always say great relationships aren't built in a day. Great relationships are built daily. It's just that daily attention to things. And it's not a lot. It's really not. And your time is very well spent doing it.
Yeah. Abby, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. To say thank you, we've given a month worth of access to a sports program to support some young adults in India, which they use this vessel of gathering around sports to teach some really fundamental life skills. So thank you so much for making that possible. We've done that via our partnership with Buy One, Give One. So this conversation can have more impact than just our podcast listeners.
Love it.
So Abby, if people want to connect with you or learn a little bit more about what you do, how should they do that?
The easiest way is my website holds everything from the podcast to free resources to everything. And it's my name, abbymedcalf.com, ABBYMED as in Donald, CALF.com. That's it. Everything is there.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you, Abby. Is there one last thought or anything you'd like to share?
I just thank you for having me. And I love the world peace. That's what I'm doing. So I'm very excited.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Abby.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.